Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is the Healing Hill and my name is Tiffany Hill Cook. Today, what I wanted to talk with you about is spirituality in children. How can we best support them? How can we provide stability? How can we eliminate fear and uncertainty associated to their experience, while also empowering them and allowing their true nature, their authentic self to thrive instead of shrivel up and die? If what you hear today from me resonates on a soul level, I do offer channeled readings through my website. I will put the bookings page in the description here. I do meet with children as well. Parents book sessions with me so that I can meet with their children, because they're trying to make sense of their experience, and it's helpful to have somebody that is a good listener and is able to communicate with their spirit team to validate or provide clarity to their experience. All right, this is episode 4. I'll see you soon. Okay, welcome back. This is episode 4, and what we are talking about today is spirituality in children. How can we be aware of when there is an experience that a child is having that isn't necessarily manifested in this 3D physical world? Maybe we already know that they are spiritually gifted because of different things that they say is happening to them, but we aren't aware of it. We aren't conscious of their experience, and we don't necessarily, you don't necessarily know how to show up for them. What prompted me to make this video today was a session that I had this weekend. One of my regular clients had booked a session for their child, and what had prompted it is they had started having some tummy troubles. They were having really sharp pains in their stomach, and they had gone to the doctor, a few different doctors, and there wasn't anything wrong. And when I say there isn't anything wrong, this child was 110% absolutely experiencing the pain, but they couldn't get to a physical ailment to title it as, to give a prognosis. That is such a common experience, not just with children, I would say with adults. I experienced, my goodness, years of issues with my stomach. And I had gone to so many specialists. It was silly. Nothing was ever wrong. After getting lab upon lab tests done, nothing was ever wrong. It was because there was a disconnect between my emotional inner world and the experience that I was having, mind, body, soul. And just to let you know, I do offer sessions with children. When you book time with me, it is your time. You could have one person there, you can have 10 people there. It really depends on how you want to spend your time. And so in this session, the mother had joined the daughter, and it ended up being a combination of two things. First of all, it was her diet. So I was able to communicate with her spirit team, and she needed to cut back on the amount of cheese that she was eating. Not dairy as a whole, it was cheese. And more specifically, the image that I got was yellow cheese. They were okay with her having whiter cheese, like a mozzarella, but when the more yellow the cheese, the harder it was for this person specifically to digest. The other piece was that there was some uncertainty that this young lady was experiencing in her day-to-day life. And when you have worry, which anxiety deals with the past, worry deals with the future. And so ultimately, what came out of the session and what her spirit guides wanted for me to present as an opportunity to heal it was introducing more fibrous type foods along with the meals that she was already eating. So she didn't need to eliminate cheese entirely. She just needed to cut back on it. And whether it was some sort of, fiber supplement that she was going to consume in conjunction with her meals, or, raspberries have fiber, almonds have fiber, pears have fiber. She needed to introduce some foods that had some fiber as well to her diet. They also noticed that it was important for her to spend some more one-on-one time with her mom. She has some siblings, and so what the takeaway was is that, and they both agreed to this. They both made a commitment and are going to honor this. Is they're going to share a journal. And the daughter is going to be able to write notes to her mother, and then the mother in return not only needs to read them, but she needs to write notes to her daughter. The other thing that they came up with was committing to 30 minutes a week, and they're going to put it in calendar. It's not just like something you're talking about, and then it sometimes happens because kids don't forget. There's a slight narcissism to children, which is totally healthy and normal, but they're going to remember when you say you're going to do something and you don't. Words are not in alignment with actions. And then do you know what happens? They go, my needs aren't that important. Or when my mom says she's going to do something, she's a liar. Again, who knows what the narrative is going to be, but if you say you're going to do something, then honor it. And so they're going to spend 30 minutes of time a week, and how they're going to spend that time is the daughter is going to, as well as the mother, are going to put ideas into a dish, and they're going to pull out weekly something to do together. So I'm going to check in with them in a few weeks to see how that's going, but that's just one example of a session that I had with a child that provided hope and gave them something to strive towards when, I don't want to say the word is hopeless, but when you feel a bit disillusioned. So I can remember as a child a variety of spiritual experiences that happened. Large crowds, for starters, were very, very difficult for me. And when I say large crowds, I am an empath. That is not an uncommon gift that people have. And how that shows up for me is I know what someone's feeling without them telling me. And more specifically, part of the reason I believe that I developed this gift is because life was very unstable for me as a child. I have a mother who was a narcissist, and I had a father who didn't get the father programming chip. So he was really short. And I mean, it was essentially like walking on eggshells a lot of the time. And so when I walked into a room, I needed to be able to assess really quickly what role did I need to play in this moment? Is it safe to be myself? Do I even want to go into this room? And so if you can imagine, one vivid memory I have is going to the circus. And my mom tells the story that, I mean, quite literally, we had just sat in our seats and we ended up going home. Imagine 1,000 people and all of their emotions. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know that just because, I would be feeling happy and then all of a sudden I'd feel sad. And I didn't know that everything is energy. So that sadness isn't mine. So I can actually let it go and release it. And what I do today, if there is an emotion or a pain, a physical pain that I suddenly feel that I know is somebody else's around me, I actually call on Archangel Michael. He's going to come now because I said his name, but I call on him and I say, and I'll even point or touch, or I can just visualize where in my body the pain is or what the emotion is. And I'll say, this isn't mine. Can you take this away? This isn't mine. And I'll repeat that. This isn't mine. Can you take this away? Until it's gone. And it normally takes less than 30 seconds. So, another thing that I remember as a child, and I was probably about 8 years old, was I was at a family reunion in North Dakota. I've got a lot of family that originated from there, and Sentinel Butte area. And so I remember going to sleep in a big old house. It wasn't a house that I knew anything about. And there was a chair in one of the corners, and there was an entity, a spirit. It was I would call them like a house spirit today. Like some houses have a spirit that looks after the well-being of the house. And he just sat in that chair the whole night. And I remember just peeking my eyes over the blanket and I just remember just squeezing my eyes tightly, so tight that I just wished it would go away. Because I did not feel safe in my waking world to be me. To go and tell my mom or dad that I was experiencing this, they told me that wasn't true. They called me a liar. And so that's really, really dangerous. When your child comes to you and tells you something and your first reaction is to dismiss them. How do you think that is going to show up in their adult life? It's no wonder that we attract the same type of experiences that we had as a child that in adulthood, if we don't heal it. If dad was shit, we're going to attract and actually not only attract, but go after men that are shit as well, because that is the energy that we are aligned to. That is the value, that is the worth that we were told that we had. So we're going to continue to seek it until we heal ourselves. And so, as a parent, let's say your child, let me back up here. Because one experience that Spirit just told me is you may have a child that you know is actually attention seeking, okay? That they're coming to you with an ailment or an experience that you know isn't true. Well, for starters, you don't ever really know because you don't know their experience. But sometimes kids can milk things, right? They can, but I can guarantee you the origin of the behavior is true. They're doing it for some reason, something that is lacking in their day-to-day experience that is inspiring them or motivating them to say that their foot hurts, or again, whatever the experience is that they may be exaggerating or actually lying about. There's something underneath that is causing that to happen. And it is your job as a parent to honor them and seek to understand and get really fucking curious. One of the worst things that we can do, I think, to our children is keep telling them who they are. They already have a personality. They have a soul. It is your job to ask who they are. Ask, do you like art? Ask, do you like sports? Provide them an outlet to do so. Be there. It is so important to show up for people. And that starts as a child, because if you don't show up for them, then you know what they say? Nobody has my back. That's a really dark place to be. It's a very lonely experience to have. So, the other thing with children is we have energy centers in the body. There are 7 chakras. It starts at the root of our tailbone, which is called the root chakra. And then about a few inches above that, I would say a couple inches below the belly button, it's called your sacral, which is, we have sacral bones, right? And the root chakra is traditionally expressed by the color red. Sacral is orange. Then you have above your belly is your solar, and that's traditionally yellow. Your heart chakra is where, is where your spirit meets the human experience. That is traditionally expressed by the color green. And your heart chakra holds some really major vital organs, your lungs and your heart. So when that becomes blocked, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about later, if your heart chakra, that energy center, becomes blocked, it can become difficult to breathe. That's one for me. Or you can have some issues physically with your heart. There's a reason that heart disease is a #1 killer in the United States. We suppress our emotions. We are taught at a young age, and then we do not heal from that trauma, and it hurts our physical body. Our thoughts become things, and how we can identify what our thoughts are is through our feelings. So then we get into the throat chakra, which is traditionally blue, your third eye, which is where I get my clairvoyant images. That is going to be, gosh, what color is that? Trying to think. Is it purpley? I'm trying to feel like the crown. So then you've got your crown chakra. And you know what? I don't remember all the colors all the time. That's okay. You don't need to know everything in order to show up for people. We're all just trying. So we have energy centers in the body. And when we are first born, when we are babies, every single one of those energy centers is open. We have a complete balance. Actually, well, I'm going to finish the statement and then I'm going to backtrack. We have a complete balance of masculine and feminine energy. Every single human being, whether you identify as male, female, or something else, we all have masculine and feminine energy. And each one of us, there is a unique balance that we all vibrate at. Now, why I want to preface that we all come in balanced, sometimes we don't. And I'll be more specific. Sometimes there are influences from past lives that are connected to our current life that we are looking to heal in this physical incarnation. And so sometimes there is an imbalance that we experience upon birth, but it's part of our life plan. We have memories as soon as infant as being in the womb. And how I know that is I spent a short 2 years learning how to interpret dreams and analyze dreams. And one of the, like I would say, most common experiences that dreams that we have is about birth. Let's say when you were in the womb, mom was talking about an abortion. She didn't end up having one. You may not feel welcome then. You may have uncertainty around your deserving to be here because of the couple of months that mom didn't know if she was going to keep you, or maybe dad never wanted you. That's going to impact your masculine energy before you have even taken a breath of oxygen. So the older that we get, though, and there's a really great book. It's called The 7 Healing Chakras. I cannot remember the author. It was a phenomenal book. She actually has discerned the ages in which each one of these energy centers, these chakras, actually closes and has finished its development. So I'm going to say some numbers here, but don't come after me. Like, if you do have some information that would be helpful to share, then be helpful and share it. You don't need to come at me like a witch hunt. I'm simply here trying to help people make sense of not only their experience, but their child's. But let's say around age 2, 2 to 4, your root chakra has completed. So, and then it continues on until you get into, your teenage years is your heart chakra. I remember that much. But each one of them is developed at a different time. And so the younger that you are, the more the veil is lifted between this dimension and the spiritual dimension. That's why it's not uncommon for your 2 or 3-year-old daughter to be having a conversation with your deceased grandparent. You don't see anything because you're too closed off. Your child is very open still. That is how they're able to connect. So what you can do is celebrate that. Don't tell them that it's not true. Don't laugh at them. Don't make fun of them. Don't demand that they stop being silly. You have just like someone has no idea what your experience is. How would you feel if somebody came up and said they can tell you everything that you experience? You say, fuck you. You have no idea who I am. You don't know who I am. Then why are you doing that to your children? And let's just take it onto a broader range. Why are you doing that to children at all ever? Do not dim their light. Do not dim their light. Celebrate their light. We can learn so much from a child. They can remind us what life is truly about. We have these narratives and these stories and these confines that we put ourselves into, these structures, the older that we get. These are all man-made. These are all self-made cages. You hold the key. You are the only thing that is in between. The only thing holding you back is yourself, okay? And potentially, if you're a parent or an adult who has the beautiful ability to be around children, you could be the issue. Stop being the issue. So, celebrate them. Get really curious. Ask questions. What does grandma, let's say you have a child, the image I just got was a little girl who was saying that she's talking to her grandmother. And here's the thing, she would have no idea even what a grandparent is. A 2-year-old doesn't know what a grandparent is. They're just a human being that provides love, hopefully, and nourishment in the form of food and other, really yummy emotions. But let's say your grandmother has passed and your daughter is having a conversation. Get really curious. Tell me, is she wearing anything? What is she saying? And I get with a 2-year-old that might be a little bit difficult, but you understand the idea. The other thing that I will say is you need to do some research. Go to Google and say whatever the experience is. Let's say your child has the gift of mediumship, and they're seeing spirits. Go seek out different platforms that can help normalize that experience for your child, because it is a normal experience. We are spirits having a human experience. Ask your child how you can best support them. And I get that there's a bit of a power dynamic between a parent and a child, and so they might not know exactly. They might not know, and they also may not feel comfortable like I was taught and told that I had no needs. So if my mom would have said, how can I best support you? I would have said, what's the trick? What do you want from me? You don't do this. And so if you're already there, then that's a difficult, then you're already there. Okay. But you can look up different spiritual gifts and start researching it. There are a variety of what are called the clairs: clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. I think there's like 7 or 11 of them. There is the gift of prophecy. There is I am what's called a channel. So my energy centers, I am able to invite in other entities or beings into my energy center and get information that way. There's also something that's called a crystal, where you're able to get energy from a crystal, literally partner with a rock. There's also, it's said that that crystals come from the 11th or the 13th dimension. They're not even of this world. So some individuals have what's called a counseling ability, and how that would show up in your dreams is if you're sitting one-on-one with somebody. It's not uncommon for you to be in a taxi with someone. That means you've got the gift of counseling. Anything that somebody or something does in a dream that is not you, well, everything in a dream is you, by the way. So if somebody in a dream can do something, that means you have the ability to do it as well. Let's say you dream of groups of people. That means you have the gift of spiritual leadership. I have that gift. That doesn't mean that you tell people what to do. You show them by living life through a state of grace, and you listen and you honor people and you celebrate them. It's like Yeshua. That's how Jesus showed up for people. He wasn't critical. What would be another one? There's hands-on healing. And that would show up in a variety of ways in a dream. That could show up as a horse. It could show up as a really powerful car. That a car is still measured in horsepower, right? There's absent healing. There's the gift of projection. Maybe you're able to do hypnosis. Once you start getting curious about the spiritual realm, it is infinitely deep. And so when and if your child is experiencing things that you are not able to logically explain, don't tell them they're wrong. Honor them. Tell them that you believe them. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that they're safe. Imagine that you are that 5-year-old little boy or girl, and what would you needed to have heard if that was happening to you? Try to create connections with other individuals that are having the same experience. Get a booking with someone like me who can speak the same language, because they're special. Not everybody has that ability. And when you tell them that there's something wrong with them, then a part of them dies. It's retrievable. I've done it, but I was so closed off to the world. I was literally a robot. I didn't even know that I had needs. I didn't know how to access my own needs. I didn't know how to have a hobby. I didn't know how to slow down. I just went for other people based off of what I perceived society needed me to do. I don't give a shit what society thinks of me today. And it gives me such freedom. So, something else, another spiritual gift that just was presented to me was some people have a creative writing ability. And so if, your child is a great storyteller, don't tell them to stop telling stories. Honor their stories. Get them a notebook. Get them depending on your financial well-being, get them a computer so that they can start to share their gifts with others. At a very minimum, allow themselves to extrapolate that energy, extrapolate those ideas, and put them somewhere. I love to draw. It's like, I got some different artwork here. This is from when I was young, and this is, we'll talk about that at another time, but I love to do vision boards. So I think that that's really important to visualize things. So what else can we do here? And at the end of the day, you don't have to overcomplicate things. You can keep it really simple by just loving them. Loving them, not in spite of, but because of. Not in spite of something, but because of something. We are in the year of Aquarius, and that started in 2022. It's the first feminine-led year in a long time, 12,000 years. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to start to see more and more individuals with different spiritual gifts present themselves. And there's going to be more parents that don't necessarily have the same experience. And so there's going to be a disconnect. But there's ways to bridge the gap. If you're watching this, you're already doing it. You're already doing it. So give yourself a pat on the back. Celebrate yourself and continue to allow yourself to be guided to more information. You can do this. I've said this before, I'm not special. I just care about myself and I love myself. And in turn, the more care and love I have for me means I have more care and love for you. Lastly, and this is something that Spirit just said, is there's nothing wrong with you or your child if they're experiencing this. God don't make no junk. Okay? Anything else, Spirit? Okay. That's it for now. Signing off.